3 Israelis killed and 9 injured in a shooting near Qnews in the West Bank. Israeli occupation airstrikes across Gaza kill 48 Palestinians in 24 hours. And Jordan and Turkey enhance cooperation to aid Syria, address regional issues, and condemn Israel. Hello, good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock Cairo local time, and you're watching Q News. We begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in the West Bank. Three Israelis were killed and 9 others injured, including 3 critically, in a shooting near the Qnews settlement east of Qalqilia in the northern occupied West Bank. Israeli media reported that the gunman opened fire from a car, targeting a bus and a settler's vehicle before fleeing the scene. Israeli forces have launched a large-scale manhunt, setting up roadblocks and surrounding nearby villages. The attack has heightened tensions in the occupied territories, prompting heightened security measures across the area. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has pledged to pursue those behind the attack on Qalqilia in the West Bank. Netanyahu declared that they will find these killers and bring them to justice, along with anyone who aided them. Netanyahu stressed that no one would be spared from accountability for the attack, which took place earlier in the day. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has sparked controversy with remarks suggesting that Palestinian villages such as Al-Funduk, Nablus and Jenin should resemble Jabalia, a densely populated area in Gaza known for military confrontations. Smotrich also urged Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to convene an urgent meeting to outline a security strategy aimed at what he described as eradicating terrorism in the West Bank, quote, in a real way. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has warned that anyone supporting Hamas in Gaza would face severe consequences. Katz affirmed issuing orders from the Israeli military to respond forcefully to any threats. His remarks signal Israel's continued focus on countering perceived dangers in Gaza, with a strong emphasis on military readiness and decisive action. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that Washington wants to see a ceasefire deal in Gaza concluded and the hostages brought out in the next 2 weeks. During a press conference in South Korea, Blinken explained that a renewed push is underway to reach a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas and to return Israeli detainees before U.S. President-elect Donald Trump takes office on January 20.
We're working very hard to bring that over the finish line. And what
Israeli Minister of Security Itamar Ben-Gvir has warned against efforts to end the Gaza war, asserting that it would spark conflict in Israel. Ben-Gvir called for increased freedom of movement for settlers over Palestinians and proposed more roadblocks to ensure security. Several Palestinians have been killed and dozens have been injured in the occupation bombing of various areas across Gaza since dawn. Local media reported that the occupation forces bombed a house in the north of the Strip, killing 4. They also bombed Jabalia refugee camp, killing at least 3, and bombed a house in El Nusrat camp, killing a doctor who worked as a volunteer at Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital in Deir Lablah. Gaza's health authorities have reported that the death toll from the ongoing Israeli aggression on Gaza since October 7, 2023, has risen to over 45,800, with more than 109,000 people wounded. They added that the Israeli occupation forces have committed 3 massacres against families in the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours, killing 48 Palestinians and injuring 75 others. Palestinian media has reported that the number of child fatalities in Gaza due to cold weather and lack of shelter has risen to 8 amid ongoing Israeli attacks on the region. The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees has stated that 7,700 newborns in Gaza lack life-saving care, with the cold particularly endangering infants. This came as the World Health Organization condemned Israeli strikes that disabled Kamal Adwan Hospital, which has been hit by 50 attacks that have severely been affecting critical healthcare services. Israeli media has reported that Hamas approved a list of detainees proposed by Israel at an appropriate price. An Israeli official stated that Hamas did not specify whether detainees were alive or deceased. Hamas reportedly agreed to exchange 34 detainees for a ceasefire deal, but criticized Israel's lack of response regarding withdrawal from Gaza or the implementation of a truce. Israel's media has reported a rise in legal complaints against Israeli soldiers abroad. Around 50 complaints were filed in 10 countries against army reservists, though no arrests were made. The report noted that hostile entities view this method as potentially effective. Earlier, Israeli media reported that the military warned reservists abroad of possible arrests due to their involvement in the war on Gaza. And for more on this, Hela's in our newsroom. Hela.
Thank you very much, Mark. For further analysis on the current situation in the West Bank, we're joined from Amman by political analyst Mr. Adel Mahmoud. Welcome to Qnews, sir. Now, how does the Israeli government respond to the growing security concerns in the West Bank?
Good afternoon to you and your viewers. Certainly, the West Bank files is escalating gradually. We're talking about that the semi-overwhelming after the statement of Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Foreign Affairs about the troubles in Gaza. We'll expect an Israeli response, not a sudden one, as the Ministry of Defense ordered to pursue the attackers. We'll see that 2 days before, Hamas gave the red line to the resistance within Israel, i.e., with the start of the truce in Gaza. It's clearly that Israel is heading to the West Bank. We do not forget that a Palestinian commitment towards the resistance in Jenin. Israel is trying to retaliate as it did in Syria under the coverage of the 60 days deal. Today, the crown of the Israeli expansion is to be completed towards the West Bank. If it is not today, it will be tomorrow, as under what is called the annexation of the Israeli land in the West Bank and the eliminate the project of Hamas.
So how have the Israeli political leaders reacted to the violence in the West Bank so far?
It's clear there is a precedent and concern from the Israeli leaders. So we're talking about the calls to invade Nablus and Jenin. There are strategic objectives and as already mentioned in the Cairo news channels, that will be in Jenin as it is in the north of Gaza. And today, and while we're talking about the influenced leaders in the hardliner Israeli cabinet to open the file of the West Bank by force, if it is not displacing the Palestinian. We do not forget that there are Israeli plans, which is the project of alternative homeland and display the fleeing the Palestinian to Jordan. We're talking about three statements from Netanyahu. It's not the matter of an action and a backfire. We're talking about the qualitative process in a very delicate time. But we're talking about the double dealing with those years. Firstly, the attempt of the Palestinian Authority, what is called for controlling security, and the Israeli are present, not regarding the detainees. We're talking about calls from Israeli statement of more displacement in Jenin and Gaza, and the matter is only a matter of time.
Mm-hmm. So how does Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich's proposed security strategy affect the Palestinian communities in the West Bank?
With the beginning of the 2025, there is a statement of the Minister of Finance is to deploy the control of the West Bank as an Israeli project, and it's not a demand of the Minister of Finance. We're talking about a resolution being presented to dominate control in the West Bank, i.e. that Netanyahu, along with his leaders before the 7th of October, is just to the matter of the West Bank, as stated by the Minister of Finance, that it is named an absolute end of the two-state solutions. I likely projected that the 2025 is the year of the West Bank, and that the legal scenario has already started and will be implemented to have a full control on the West Bank.
Mm-hmm. So what are the implications of the warning of Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz, and do they actually reflect Israel's military strategy in Gaza?
If it is not that the Blinken called recently that he wished the truce in Gaza, it is clear that the Israeli army is going to implement what is called the General's Plan. That is an in-place project. We're talking about the semi-start of the fruitful land of settlement by Israel. And Israel wishes to keep the Gaza file to be open and to respond to Hamas demands. I think that the statements of the Israeli leaders, such as the Minister of Defense and the violence through the past 2 days, we're talking about 54 air raids and 180 murders in 72 hours. The matter is not to practice the pressure on Hamas, it's just to kill the Gazanians. And even there are no military objectives. If we talk about entering this stage, and it could be expanded whether in Gaza or talking about a military positioning, and the suspended file is the hostages. Does Israel pay attention about this file? Maybe talking about concession, but most importantly the plan, which is the position in Gaza, in the northwest of Gaza, we are about if the two parties withdraw about the deal. Unfortunately, we aren't going to enter the second year of the war, and the same result will be the same.
Well, that was political analyst Mr. Adel Mahmoud. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on Q News. And now we go back to you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Thank you very much for that. Now let's get the latest developments in Syria. Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman al-Safadi has announced enhanced cooperation with Turkey to assist Syria and address regional issues. Speaking in Ankara with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, al-Safadi stressed that Syria's stability is crucial for the region. The discussions focused on boosting humanitarian aid, supporting the return of Syrian refugees, and improving infrastructure, including electricity. Al-Safadi also condemned Israeli aggression in Syria and Gaza, calling for international action to protect Palestinian rights and maintain regional stability. Meanwhile, the Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan has emphasized the importance of stabilizing Syria and supporting its new administration. In a joint conference here with his Jordanian counterpart, Ayman Safadi, as we mentioned, Fidan confirmed Turkey's commitment to Syria's reconstruction. He also highlighted the need to ensure stability in Lebanon and the actions required to achieve it. Additionally, Fidan mentioned discussions with Iraqi officials addressing the current situation in Syria. French President Emmanuel Macron has emphasized the need to respect diversity in Syria. This came during his address at the annual French Ambassadors Conference in Paris, where Macron has expressed France's hope that Syria's new administration would bring security and stability. He also emphasized the importance of initiating a political process in Syria and facilitating the return of refugees. Also, he called for an end to the fighting in Gaza and the release of detainees. American media has reported that the administration of US President Joe Biden plans to ease restrictions on humanitarian aid in Syria. The move aims to expedite the delivery of essential supplies without lifting broader sanctions, which continue to restrict other assistance to Syria's new government. Syria's new foreign minister, Assad al-Shabani, called for the lifting of sanctions and emphasized the importance of strengthening regional ties. Germany's envoy to Syria, Stefan Schneck, has emphasized the importance of strengthening diplomatic ties and stabilizing Syria through opportunity-driven collaboration. Plans include mitigating chemical weapon risks, humanitarian aid, and fostering Syrian unity. Schneck highlighted European engagement, calling a recent delegation's visit to Damascus a positive step. He affirmed ongoing support for Syria's transitional government with 8 strategic action plans and pledged to review sanctions to alleviate the Syrian people's hardships. Syrian media has reported that Syria's Foreign Minister Assad al-Shabani has arrived in the UAE. Al-Shabani is accompanied by Defense Minister Mohaf Abu Qasra and the Intelligence Chief Anas Khattab. Shabani stated that he looked forward to building constructive bilateral relations. Now let's get the latest developments in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين.
الوضع شيء مرعب، شيء بخوف.
United States envoy to Lebanon, Amos Hochstein, has arrived in Beirut ahead of a meeting of the committee tasked with monitoring the implementation of the ceasefire, which went into effect on November 27th. Hochstein's visit aims to address key issues, most notably the presidential election and ceasefire matters. This visit follows his meeting with the Saudi foreign minister in Riyadh on Sunday, where they discussed the ongoing situation in Lebanon. Lebanese media has reported that the Saudi ambassador to Lebanon, Walid Bukhari, is intensifying his political consultations as part of ongoing efforts to address Lebanon's political crisis. Bukhari's meetings coincide with the visit of U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein, who is expected to hold discussions in Beirut as part of broader international efforts to mediate and resolve pressing issues in the country. Israeli media has revealed plans for the Israeli occupation forces to stay indefinitely in southern Lebanon, defying a ceasefire agreement stipulating withdrawal. Despite fears of a backlash from the Biden administration and potential UN complaints, Israel aims to maintain control of key areas near its northern border. Reports suggest that the military is determined to solidify its presence in southern Lebanon as the ceasefire. U.S. politics now, and the U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson has stated that a massive winter storm sweeping the country will not stop Congress from convening on Monday to certify Donald Trump's presidential election formally. Johnson emphasized that the Electoral Count Act mandates the process on January the 6th, regardless of weather conditions. Despite heavy snow and strong winds forecasted across central and eastern states, Johnson urged members to remain in Washington for the session.
As leaders of a nation with vast natural resources that God has blessed us with, it is our duty to restore.
In a press briefing in Beijing, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Gu Jiakun has said a stronger and more developed Africa will make significant contributions to global peace and development. Gu made the statement while addressing questions about Foreign Minister Wang Yi's first overseas trip of the year. Wang's week-long visit to Africa from the 5th to the 11th includes stops in Namibia, the Republic of the Congo, Chad and Nigeria. Gu emphasized the deep historic ties between China and Africa, noting that China, as the world's largest developing country, shares a long-standing friendship with the continent, home to the largest number of developing nations. Stay tuned for updates on this diplomatic mission. And that almost brings us to the end of our news bulletin, but here's what we've been covering. 3 Israelis killed and 9 injured in a shooting near Qnews in the West Bank. Israeli occupation forces airstrikes across Gaza kill to aid Syria, address regional issues and condemn Israel. That's all for now on our main bulletin this hour. Don't forget to follow Q News on our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at QNews ETY. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Q News for more updates.